Greetings, adventurers! If you have come seeking the knowledge of painting miniatures to enhance your tabletop games, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Miniature Legends, a place where even the smallest of figures can be legendary. I am your guide, Zaxatar, and your quest, if you dare to accept it, is to transform your grey barren miniatures with personality and colour. Please note that this guide is intended for novice adventurers, so we will be going through every step necessary to get you building and painting your very first miniature. There will be chapter markers below, so feel free to skip around if you like. First, we'll begin with the most important part, choosing your miniature. As a beginner, you are more likely to encounter Reaper Bones or WizKids miniatures. Both market to beginners in the hobby and are a solid starting point for getting experience with the magic of mini-painting. These models are pre-primed, pre-assembled, and are rather inexpensive, allowing you a cheap and easy way to get started with painting. However, they have several downsides. They are often covered in mold lines that were not removed before priming. So to get best results, they can require extra steps to clean up and prepare, or they can leave unsightly ridges in your paint. Furthermore, the sculpt quality or the primer thickness can vary a bit. Other options include custom 3D models that you can order through services like HeroForge, or 3D print yourself. These can be more expensive, but they do allow a greater degree of creative freedom and customized posing. You are not limited to the discussed miniatures here. Mini groups produce wonderful miniatures, so feel free to research and look for the miniatures that most inspire you. Next, we'll discuss paint. As a beginner, you are likely to see Vallejo, Citadel, and Army Painter paints available. All three are viable choices. Citadel paints come in these pots, which, while aesthetically pleasing, tend to dry out much faster and do not seal as well as bottles. Furthermore, there are a variety of speed, express, and contrast paints produced by these companies, as well as other brands out there. Speed, express, and contrast are wonderful ways to get painting, but I will be showing traditional techniques in this video. If you would like to see a video on techniques regarding these shade paints, please let me know. If your minis are not pre-primed, you will need to apply a coat of primer before painting. As a beginner, rattle can primers are the most common way to get your minis primed, though brush-on primers are available. Just remember, protect yourself from harmful fumes, and make sure your primer is not thick, as it will obscure your details. If you have access to an airbrush priming your minis can also be a fantastic method to get your minis ready to paint. To get started painting, I would recommend purchasing 4 brushes: a size 2, 1, and 0 round acrylic brush, and a large flathead brush for dry brushing. You can go the route of brush kits, but for the same price, you will find high-quality synthetic brushes, build experience with brushes that will keep their tip, and skip the purchase of unnecessary sizes. Finally, you will need several miscellaneous items: a palette, a rinse cup, and towels. If you are serious about getting into the hobby, a wet palette is a fantastic investment to keep your paints wet, easy to mix, and to get a more consistent painting experience. Now that I have gone over the materials necessary, I will begin by showing you the steps to build and paint your first miniature. First, we will begin by washing and scrubbing our miniature in a mix of soap and warm water. This removes any remaining mold release agent from the mini. Finally, I will go over the miniature to remove any obvious mold lines or flash. Now assembly. Next, I coated the base in a mixture of watered-down PVA glue. and added some sand. A few rocks for some eye-catching detail. And then a second coat of PVA to seal the remaining sand in. While I am using an airbrush in this video, the principles of priming remain the same. Smooth and thin coats are best, making sure to cover the model thoroughly. I have also chosen to add a zenithal prime to the miniature. This gives a better sense of where light would naturally fall, and helps with the painting lighter colors onto the miniature. Very nice. Now we are ready to paint. First, we will establish our base colors, picking out which areas should be painted a given color. Typically, when painting, you want to begin with the hardest to reach areas first and work outwards, blocking in colors throughout the miniature. Make sure your paints are thinned properly. It's better to paint thinner and apply a second coat than to paint too thick and leave behind textures. Moving on to applying a wash. I like to begin by thinning it with some contrast medium. This tends to make the wash less intense and causes the wash to sink more into the recessed areas of the model. You will notice that the wash tends to mute the colors of the model. This is a useful effect as we can now build those colors back up and more accurately simulate the effects of light in the next step. The second coat allows you to re-establish the colors of your model, building up back to the base color, as well as adding progressive highlights of lighter tones to simulate the effects of light falling on this adventurer. Finally, I added a few extra details here and there. Belt buckles, painted the eyes, reflective shine onto the armor, and a few additional highlights. And of course, I painted the rim black. For the final touches, I added a few tufts and acrylic leaves to give a sense of wilderness to the model. If you've liked what you've seen, have questions, or have any other comments, please leave a transcription down below. Thank you so much for visiting my study. I hope to see you again soon. Farewell, adventurers!